Here they come from the operation and checkout building. Commander Hoot Gibson leading the way, followed by Kurt Brown, Jay Apt, Mark Lee and his wife Jan Davis, Mae Jemison, and Mamoru Mori. They've trained a long time for this mission, 7 years for Dr. Mori.
Wow, look at you. That was Dr. Mae Jemison and the Space Shuttle Endeavour crew moments before their journey into orbit. That was back in 1992. Now, on that flight, Dr. Jemison made history as the first woman of color to travel into space. Wow, breaking ground for a lot of people, including, I have to say, myself sitting here today. Her mission lasted 8 days. She carried out 44 science experiments with her crewmates. Since then, she has dedicated her life to advancing science, technology, and education. We are so happy to say that Dr. Mae Jemison joins us in the studio. I really mean it when I say it's an honor and a privilege to have you here. I walked in the green room, I went, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. You are a real astronaut. Yeah. I mean, when they said I love this number. You were one of only 15 people out of 2,000 applicants, Dr. Mae, accepted into the NASA astronaut training program. That was back in 1987.
Right. I was in the first group of astronauts after the Challenger accident.
After the Challenger.
And in fact, my application was in at the time of that. Yeah, because there's so much that we can do. There's so much we have to learn.
Well, why was it important to you? I think people are thinking, yeah, this is just all fun, billionaires, very elitist thing. Why do you think it's important that we go into space? What is it that people don't understand?
First of all, space gives us a remarkable perspective for looking at the Earth. We can look at and understand floods, what's happened to the ozone layer. We can look for minerals, all kinds of things you can do from space. You can map roads, all of that from space in a fraction of the time with a fraction of the cost than you would do it if you were doing it on Earth. But there's something else really important. Space technologies, we're using them every day.
How so?
How many people have a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
They have a smartphone and they ask for Bertha, Alexa, Siri, whoever, to tell them directions. That's Global Positioning Satellite System in your hand. So we use space technologies every day. And why was it important to do space? Because space pushes us much harder. We have to do things in ways we never thought of before because you're trying something so difficult. And so I think the reason I'm so proud of you, Gail, I don't know if I have to tell you, I'm so proud of you because I watch you guys all the time and I remember you saying, yeah, that's really great, those other people are going up and I'm not going up.
Yes. You would sit and say what? Stop talking, Gail?
I would say, Gail, don't say that. Aww. Don't say that. But, you know, you step back and now you're going to go.
So
you're going to join us.
What is your advice to Gail? We've been collecting advice. We had William Shatner on yesterday. But what's your advice to her going up?
First of all, understand that you've never had so many talented people looking after you in your life. The other is that you going up, you're bringing your own perspective, whatever that is, live in that moment, and then bring down and share it. And your training is going to be important because that's going to help you to understand what happens in the scale of space exploration and why it's so different from other things we do.
You know, it's a very quick flight. People say, someone stopped me on the street, I hear you're going to the moon. I'm not going to the moon, I'm coming up. It's 11 minutes and coming back down. I'm very fascinated about the wonder of it all and what it means and how I will feel and how I will be changed, because I actually do think I'll be changed. I'm not a brave person, I'm not. And so for me, this is really stepping in a territory that I never thought. Brave. I'm really not.
You're a courageous person.
Courageous, okay.
And courage is doing those things that we might be afraid of.
That's scary.
Right?
How did it change you?
Well, first of all, the little orange flight suit picture changed a lot of things because people see you in one way as an astronaut. Personally, what it did for me is to connect me to the greater universe. Sometimes folks say that astronauts look down at the Earth and say, everything that I touch belongs here, or that there are no lines between the countries. I never thought that. I grew up during a time where of course there are no lines between the countries. But what it did do is connect me with the rest of the universe. As I looked out, I imagined that I'm as much a part of this universe as any speck of stardust. And I think the one thing that we have a hard time as humans sometimes understanding is our connection to the rest of the universe, which also connects us to each other.
I think the world would be a very different place if everybody got the opportunity to go to space. And I think it's so important that you're going because you're a journalist and you can be a stand-in for many, many people the way you'll tell the story. How do you think the world would be different if everyone were able to be up there?
Because you think space should be more accessible to everybody, you say.
Not only space in terms of going there, but the technologies, the data sets, all of those things are really important to connect us. But can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're in
won't tell
space
anybody.
right now. Right? We're in space right now. The Earth is in space. And
Yeah, but
we
we're on the
always
ground,
say,
though, Mae.
She's right. We are hurtling
But
through
what's above
space.
us connects us. Every group of people around the world have looked up at the stars for thousands of generations, used them to figure out how do we, when do we plant things to navigate. And the reason I say that is because we're not so disconnected. And we don't all have to go, but we do have to look up.
Were you
Everybody looks
afraid
up.
when you went up? I'm curious.
I had a good, healthy respect for sitting on, tons of high explosives. But again, that's where I wanted to be. I think, let me just tell you about, I didn't like heights. And as an astronaut, you have to parachute train.
Yeah.
I didn't like heights. But the difference is, as I said, am I going to let my dislike of heights keep me from doing something that may change me, that is very impactful to my life?
All right.
So that's the piece you're doing. You're going to bring that back to everyone.
Yes.
I ask that
we
you
are.
leave your phone number before you leave, and don't give me the okey doke number. Give me the real telephone number.
No, you can call me anytime. Don't worry, and I will be there. Anything you need.
Thank you so
What's
much.
above us unites us.
Dr. Mae
I love
Jemison,
that.
thank you
I
so
do
much.
too.
Appreciate it. And we will bring you Gail's trip to space on a Blue Origin rocket in a special additional hour of CBS Mornings on Monday, April 14th, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah, there he is. That's legendary actor William Shatner in Zero Gravity on a Flight to Space. That was back in October of 2021. Captain Kirk, as he's known by a lot of people, flew on a Blue Origin rocket when he was 90 years old, becoming the oldest person at the time to travel into space. He's now 94, just had a birthday recently. As you probably know, have you heard I'm going to be making my own trip to space with an historic all-female flight. They've just named it April 14th. It's just 18 days away now, and William Shatner, we're glad to say, joins us now from Los Angeles to talk about his experience. Hello, William Shatner.
Well, hey, so you catch me on my way to riding my reining horses. I'm practicing for my Hollywood Charity Horse Show charity, which I've been doing for 35 years. And Priceline and the Bank of California have helped me. And I'm on my way there. But while I'm stopped, I thought I'd talk to you about going up into space and how chancy and how wonderful and how exciting it is.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Take control of your emotions.
Well, William Shatner, that's one of the reasons when you came back, you were so euphoric and it was so blissful.
Yes.
I watched you and I thought, what must it be like to feel like that?
You're going to feel it, Gail. And I don't want you to wear that dress because it's the color of blood. Okay? We don't want any blood, Gail.
No, we don't. We don't want any blood. You're right about that. We don't want any
Listen,
blood.
you're on an adventure. Gail, you're on an adventure.
Yes,
you got to
that's how I look at
embrace
it.
it. You got
I am.
to use mantras like, while you're lying there waiting to take off. That's the most exciting moment of all because the G-forces that are going to be on you, you're going to feel like I'm going to die, but you're not going to die, Gail. You're on an adventure.
William, don't scare her.
You're on
We
an
want to
adventure.
encourage her.
Embrace the adventure.
You are scaring the beep out of me right now.
Gail.
What?
Say a mantra. Do a mantra like say Priceline. Say something.
Oh God.
When I was lying there.
Yes.
When I was lying there
Yes.
and aware that hydrogen was being poured into the ship and the Hindenburg had burned with hydrogen, and I'm thinking, what's going to be?
Wait, William, I have a question. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Over the
William,
earphones,
I have a very pressing question.
This is so not helpful. Were you nervous? Bill, were you nervous? Were you nervous?
Yes, the nitrogen and going up and geez, that's frightening, girl.
Yes.
But embrace the adventure. Embrace it. You're on an exciting trip that you'll never do again. I mean, you're going to live through it. And and you'll be fine. But you got to say the mantra, like say
Okay.
Priceline every so often.
Got it.
Just mesmerize yourself. It's the adventure of a lifetime.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
you're going to see
Gail-
the world like only 600 people have seen it before.
I am focusing on
like
that.
you're going to see
I
it.
am. I am looking. I'm
it's-
stepping way out of my comfort zone, Bill. Way out of my comfort zone.
Gail, do you have a mantra in mind?
I do. I've already I started
Absolutely. You've been
meditating.
sitting
Yes,
in-
I do.
you've been
I do have one.
You've been sitting in that seat long enough. It's time to get up. And when they were removing the gantry on the voyage I went, as they were removing this gantry, the guy said, "We're taking away the gantry. If you want to get off, now's the time."
You
Nobody
didn't get
moved,
off.
and I thought, I can't go. I'm Captain Kirk. But they might say that to you. If you felt badly enough, you'd remain in your seat. You're
yes.
on an adventure. Embrace the moment.
That
You're
is
on
how
a
I'm
voyage
looking
of
at it.
What did it feel like for
exploration
you,
about
William,
your
when you-
nature.
When you were in zero G, when you were floating, what did that feel like for you? Because people say it's kind of like swimming. Is it anything at all like that?
There are no words in the English language to explain what weightlessness is like, because it's only happened in the last few years. It is the strangest feeling. Nothing is like it. Not swimming in a pool where they have their exercises, the astronauts. Nothing is like it. It is the weirdest thing. For me, I wanted to see outside. So I didn't hover around. I went to the window to take a look out the window. and
I love the
advise
shot
you
of
to
you,
do
Bill.
that,
I love the
because
shot
the
of you
voyage is
looking out the
over so
window.
quickly.
I love that. I love the shot of you looking out the window.
Yeah.
The question I had was, when you're up there floating, how do you get back into your seat? I'm thinking, that's what I'm worried about. If I'm up there, how do I
That's
get
what you're
back
going to
into my seat?
practice.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to practice for days on end. And you know what?
Okay.
No
What?
matter how much you practice, it's unlike you can't imitate
prepare.
it. You
Yeah.
can't
Mimic it.
because there's nothing. You can't get weightless on Earth.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
you're going to float around and feel, and got to strap yourself in. That's the stuff you'll rehearse.
Yeah.
William, I was going to ask you if this changed you in any way, but I've seen you before the space flight, and
gonna
you were like
watch.
this. You've been like this for a long time. We love you for it. Not all the reassuring words that we
No,
wanted
no,
you to say
no.
to Gail, but you did give us
Just
some
don't wear that.
inspiration.
Just don't wear that dress, Gail. Oh, and there's one more thing.
Yes.
There's one more thing. Between the time you leave your bed and get to the ship and deal with the press and go up in the air and then come back down and deal with the press, a long time. And there are no bathroom facilities.
We're drifting away.
So they're going to give you diapers.
That's our planet. Oh my God, that's space.
Wow. Even if your nickname is Space Gal, you can be amazed when you actually get to space. Emily Calandrelli recently became the 100th woman of all time to slip the surly bonds of Earth, pierce the final frontier, and she and her Blue Origin crewmates took about 62 miles above the Earth during their mission last month. Calandrelli is also the host of Emily's Science Lab back here on planet Earth, on ground, terra firma. It's on YouTube if you want to check it out. It's very good. And she joins us now to talk all about her journey. Emily, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
Talk to us about that video. There was emotion there in your voice.
Oh my gosh. So I'm an aerospace engineer. I studied this stuff for nearly a decade, and it has been a dream of mine to see that view for the longest time. And I think for a while I didn't think it was going to happen for me. And so that moment, there's a little bit of fear. I just launched on a rocket. There's a little bit of pride of like, oh my God, I did it. And then you're just overwhelmed with the view. It's pure magic.
Is it the overview effect? Is that what they call that?
Yeah, I think so. It affects everybody a little bit differently. For me, I think it's going to take a while to truly understand how it impacts me, but it was such a ride.
Yeah.
Such a ride.
So we all know what Earth looks like from space, right? Like all of
Yeah.
these images. But when you're actually up there looking at it, is it different?
It feels different. It feels like you were looking at the Grand Canyon for the first time or the ocean for the first time. It's like the biggest possible thing that your eyes have ever seen. And you're seeing new contrast, new colors, new details, and the blackness of space. You've never seen a color like this before. It is just the absence of anything, and it's a little bit spooky, actually.
I'm so glad you bring up the Grand Canyon or the ocean. I find when I go back to the water, it's summertime and you see the ocean for the first time, it's always bigger than you remember.
Yes.
And I think Grand Canyon has the same effect. There are certain things that don't fit through the lens of a camera.
Right.
Your brain can expand them in a different way. So I would have my mind blown, I think.
You should go. I highly recommend it.
I would love to. I would love to. I actually did the training for an old Virgin Atlantic or Virgin Galactic rocket, where in the centrifuge.
Yep.
So talk to us about that G-force feeling, though. To get there is not easy.
It's not easy. So you're traveling at thousands of miles per hour. You feel about
you're like laying back.
You're
right?
laying back. So that makes the G-forces a little bit less intense because it's hitting you at a diagonal. So you're not at risk of passing out or anything like that, but you still feel it. And you get about 3 Gs on the way up, but you get 5 Gs on the way down because you're decelerating really quickly. So your face feels a little bit like it's melting off into the chair, and it's a little bit hard to breathe. And that's the most intense part of the ride.
So 5 times what you're feeling right now of the Earth's atmosphere just coming through you, right? That's
5 times gravity.
Yeah.
And are you supposed to breathe in a certain way, or?
Yeah, you're kind of like. I've flown in fighter jets, so I had some G training, and so I did that a little bit, so I didn't pass out.
So talk to us a bit about the landing and how parachutes help.
Yes, exactly. So I have an experiment here, and while it may not look like it, this teaches us why we use parachutes to land spacecraft back down here on Earth. So when I landed on Earth, my spacecraft deployed 3 big parachutes, and those filled up with a lot of air, and that air resistance slowed us down. And we may not think about it, but in this room, we have 14.7 pounds per square inch of pressure everywhere all the time, which means on every square inch of your body, you have 15 pounds of force from the air in this room. We don't feel it because our bodies are used to it, but this experiment shows us that the air in the room is pushing on everything all the time. That air is pushing up on that ping pong ball, counteracting the force of water pushing it down. Now, we also have some surface tension that's keeping that ping pong in place, but that's the air pressure in the room is putting that ping pong up there, preventing that water from falling out.
Can I feel that for a second? Like, is it really, can you flip it over again? Is it really stuck? Like,
feel it. You can kind of move it a little bit. It's,
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, you can move it like that.
I love how it's like a law of nature or whatever, but we still have the towel ready.
Just in case, because you never know.
You never know.
Nothing is 100%.
But so NASA wants to go to Mars in the 2030s, land a mission with human beings.
That seems soon, doesn't it?
I really hope I live to be old enough to see this, right?
I cannot wait for that.
So how is landing back on Earth, big old planet,
Yes.
different or same for landing on Mars as a planet?
So the trickiest part of Mars is that it only has 1% of the air pressure that we have here on Earth. So parachutes don't work as well. You use them, but you need other things as well. You need retro rockets, you need sky cranes. And when NASA lands rovers on Mars, they call it the 7 minutes of terror, because you need all of these things to happen in succession, like perfectly and autonomously, because it's so far away that the radio delay is too much to have any human involvement.
So your rocket went up without a hitch, but a lot of times, like, these things are delayed or they're canceled because there's wind. I've always wondered how the wind can cancel a giant rocket that's probably like tons and tons of pounds.
Yes, exactly, because these rockets, so mine, for example, launched 2,000 miles per hour upward, but 15, 20 miles per hour sideways would have delayed the rocket. So I have another experiment to show why that is. So rockets are really only strong in one direction. Similarly, a soda can is only strong in one direction. And we can prove that here. This is an experiment from one of my Stay Curious and Keep Exploring books. And if I stand on here with my boot, you can see that it's not crushing. And so, if I take it like this, watch what happens when I just pinch it with a little bit of pressure.
Right.
It breaks, right? Because it's only strong vertically, it's not strong in this direction, because it doesn't need to be. If we tried to make it strong in every direction, it would be too heavy, too inefficient, too expensive, just like a rocket.
Oh, amazing.
Really cool.
And this is what you actually wore in space?
Yes.
Have you named her?
Spacesuit. Oh, and I have not named her. I've also not washed her. And so I think that I'm just going to keep all the space sweat in my spacesuit. Yeah, it's all very special to me.
This is amazing. So what are you looking for next? We talked about Mars, but what's the exciting thing for you when you look at the future of space travel?
Oh, I'm excited for more people to see the view that I got to see. Like, you heard my discovery, my awe. Like, I cannot wait to share that experience with the little kids, the families who follow me online. And I want more people across across this planet to be able to get that perspective.
Forever changed, are you?
Forever changed.
Do you feel like you have a different appreciation for life and
Oh my
every
gosh,
day?
yes. I mean, I feel so grateful because only fewer than 700 people out of the 100 billion humans who have been alive on this planet have seen that view, and I got to be one of them.
More people played professional football, baseball, and basketball last year than have done that in just 1 year. So, Emily Calandrelli, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really excited to have you back. Emily's Science Lab, featuring some easy experiments for kids, is available on YouTube. Check it out.
Well, this morning we begin our coverage of Hispanic Heritage Month with a powerful story of perseverance from NASA astronaut José Hernandez. As a child, Hernandez was a migrant worker moving between California and Mexico to help support his family. Around that time, he began dreaming of one day going to space. His life story inspired Prime Video's new movie, A Million Miles Away. Hernandez shares a letter with his younger self about his journey for our series, Note to Self.
Dear 10-year-old Jose,
and we'd like to say welcome.
as you sit before the fuzzy black and white TV in Stockton, California, watching those historic steps on the moon during the Apollo 17 mission, little do you realize that this moment will kindle a dream within you.
The door is now cracked, but the promise of that future lies in the young people, not just in America, but the young people all over the world.
This dream will serve as a steadfast beacon guiding you through the trials, setbacks, and victories that lie ahead. Cast your mind back to those long summer days, toiling in the fields as a migrant farm worker. Those 4:30 a.m. wake-up calls, ensuring your family beat the sun to the fields. The careful navigation of muddy, uneven roads, your buckets brimming with cucumbers. Every droplet of sweat, every ache in your muscles forges the inner strength that will drive you towards the stars. Mastering the English language eludes you until age 12. You'll find solace in mathematics, where 2 + 3 always equals 5, irrespective of language. Rejections will punctuate your journey, applying to the space program 11 times, but don't give up, because on that 12th time, you'll get in and join the 19th class of NASA astronauts.
Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery.
Defying gravity, you'll launch aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery in 2009 as its flight engineer.
Copy, Jose. All right.
Your odyssey will lead you to the International Space Station, orbiting 280 miles above Earth. Space will impart two enduring revelations. Not being able to determine where one country ends and another begins strikes you. From your vantage point, humanity is a singular race, united. Additionally, in one particular sunrise, you watch the sun ascend from Earth's horizon. Its rays reveal the very thin and fragile atmosphere. This moment will galvanize you into an environmental advocate. Post-mission, a shift will occur as you exchange your NASA post for dedicated parenthood. Raising 5 children, you observe them all achieving remarkable success. Your influence will inspire not only your family, but also countless others. Your commitment will materialize in projects like the José Hernandez Reaching for the Stars Foundation, nurturing aspirations of school-age kids.
I've applied 12 times, and yes, sir, I've been on the verge of giving up after each and every rejection, but you know what, sir? Here I am.
A film studio will even recognize your incredible life story, turning your tale of diligence and determinations into a motion picture.
All right, good luck and Godspeed.
Thank you, Wilson.
That is sure to become an inspirational classic. As your journey comes full circle, the saying, "You can take a kid out of the farm, but not the farm out of the kid," finds its embodiment. You acquire a vineyard, and though the art of grape picking is familiar, managing a farm is not. It's during this time that you'll share invaluable moments with your father, mastering vineyard operations. This endeavor will evolve into Tierra Luna cellars, where your own line of wines will flourish. So 10-year-old Jose, embrace the challenges, celebrate the victories, and always hold on to the spark that was ignited when you watched that final Apollo mission. Your dreams rival the boundlessness of the cosmos. Forge ahead and shape this dream into reality. With steadfast belief, Astronaut José M. Hernandez.
That was fabulous.
Okay, Jose.
Right, Jose, yeah.
If that's not the American dream, I don't know what is.
I mean, there's a lot of dreams in there. The 5 kids, hanging out with his dad, the vineyard, the becoming an astronaut,
Right.
the movie about your life.
Right? He went from working the fields to the field of dreams.
Yeah, he sure
My guy's
did.
doing it big.
Wow.
And I can't help but thinking of all the immigrant kids and migrant workers who are, here toiling and working really hard, and
are
they
dreaming
could
of something
be him.
bigger.
They could be him. I hope they watch this. Yeah,
That was
it's
great.
Incredible. Wow.
Earlier, we spoke with NASA astronaut Christina Koch about the significance of this mission. Now, she's a member of the Artemis team, and she's also got quite the resume. Listen to her numbers. She spent 328 consecutive days in space. That's the longest of any woman, and she conducted 6 spacewalks. Go, Christina. What are they looking for?
Well, we're looking for a lot of different things. One of the primary missions is to make sure that the heat shield can withstand those re-entry conditions. We'll be going a lot faster than we typically go when we come back from what we call low Earth orbit, which is where I went on the space station. So that's a primary objective. We're looking at all the different human factors that will become in play when we put humans on the next vehicle. Things like radiation, some of the life support things. So we're doing a lot of testing. That thing is instrumented all the way up and down, and we can't wait to get the data back and see what's going to happen next.
Christina, pardon me, that's the vehicle itself. What about putting feet on the moon again? Why is that important for the mission to Mars?
You know, there's so many reasons why going back to the moon is happening right now. This is the right time for it. We're going back to stay this time for innovation, for inspiration, and of course, for that interplanetary aspect of our next step onto Mars. We're going to take the technologies, the operations, lessons that we learn, and we're going to bring that on our next step. And really, that's all about searching for life, learning more about our solar system, the universe, and our place in it. So I can't wait to see all that unfold in the next decade.
Christina, you could be part of the crew that actually steps foot on the moon, first time in 50 years. That's been done. It'd be the South Pole of the moon. Why is that area significant, if you could?
There's a lot of scientific reasons we would go back to the South Pole, actually, one of which is water ice. That was a recent discovery there. So resources that are there that we can use are exciting. There are craters there that actually never see the sun because of the sun angle and because of the depth of the crater. So there's a lot of really neat scientific reasons to go back to the South Pole. And the technology of this mission actually enables us to go to those different regions as opposed to the landing sites of the Apollo missions.
And if you get to go, Christina, we'll be cheering you on. We'll be cheering you on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
That's former astronaut Scott Kelly performing a spacewalk back in 2015.
Wow.
Kelly had been a record holder for total days in space and also longest American space flight, spent more than a year straight on the International Space Station. And now he's out with a new book to inspire others to dream big. The book is called Ready for Launch, an astronaut's lesson for success on Earth. First on CBS Mornings, Scott Kelly joins us now. Scott, good morning to you. Not lessons, plural. There's a lot in this book. I think the big mystery off the top is, and Gail and I were both arguing over this quote, she wants to quote it as well. As a kid, your own grandmother evaluating your talents referred to you as, and this is a quote, dumb.
Dumb.
Mm-hmm. How did you go from dumb in the eyes of Grandma to NASA astronaut?
Grandma, who was tutoring you, by the way, and said, look, he's helpless. I can't teach him to read. He's dumb.
Yeah,
That's your grandmother.
You know, sometimes tough love, I think, can be helpful. And, hearing that from my grandmother was clearly a wake-up. Having said that, it didn't inspire me to become a better student, and it wasn't until I was in college struggling that I was able to find my own personal inspiration.
You found a book, The Right Stuff. You were inspired by that book. What did you learn about the importance of failure on your journey from not so hot to pretty hot stuff?
You know, I think failure is one of the most important lessons we can have in life. It shows us what we need to do to correct our course, to be successful. I think that people, that aren't willing to fail, that aren't willing to take risk, that aren't willing to make mistakes, don't always see what they're really capable of achieving. They never realize their goals because they're too scared of taking that risk.
No, you also say it's better to fail at the extraordinary than to succeed at the ordinary. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think it shows that you're not striving to go further, not challenging yourself enough, not seeing where you really stand. In my case, the first time I ever tried to land an F-14 Tomcat on an aircraft carrier, I failed. And, I had the option.
You survived, yeah.
And I did, and I had the option of going to fly an easier airplane, but I thought, if I'm going to fail at something, I might as well fail at something I think I can't achieve, rather than something that's easier. At least then I'll know exactly where I stand and what I'm capable of.
Even the officer at the time said, are you sure this is for you? Is this what you want to do?
Yeah.
But you said use fear. You also say you should use fear in your favor, too. Most people do not want to be scared about anything. Mm-hmm. And you say embrace that.
Yeah, I think it's part of life. I mean, we are humans. We are, if we didn't have fear, we wouldn't exist. I mean, it's a normal human emotion. I think it's okay, at times to be scared. I think it, focuses in your attention on what's important.
I love the chapter on leadership, and you talk about your experiences in Navy ROTC. I was in Army ROTC, and some of the lessons of leadership I learned at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. You talk about assessing everybody that you're tasked to lead individually and not having some sort of big overall arching principle when it comes to leadership.
Yeah, I think it's important not to choose, hey, I'm going to be this kind of leader for everybody, because, what I've learned in my different roles as a leader, whether it's, the commander of the space shuttle, the space station, is that we are all different. We're all motivated in different ways. So the leadership style has to be, tailored to certain people. I mean, some people take very well to the servant type leader.
What is that? Explain that. That's a really interesting concept.
The servant type leader is someone that helps you do your job. What do you need to do your job, to be the best, employee that you can, to perform at, your highest level? And then there's different styles just based on your team and who you're trying to guide and lead.
Yeah. I mean, part of what's special about the book is, even though I think it's great for middle school, high school kids, even college-age kids, it's great for adults as well, right?
Yes.
I mean, fear is something you continue to manage throughout your life. Yeah. Your first spacewalk was something you had to overcome fear, even though by then you were an incredibly accomplished individual. And I love the line in the book. People always say failure is not an option. Yeah. No. For Scott Kelly, failure is always an option.
It was kind of my thing when I was younger, right?
All right, Scott, thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Nice job.
Best-selling author, former astronaut Scott Kelly. The book is ready for launch. It is on sale now.
Wherever you like to buy your books. We are super excited. We're so excited about our next guest. None other than, him, Star Trek actor and now real space traveler, William Shatner. This Hollywood legend was part of a 4-member crew that blasted to the edge of space yesterday on a rocket from Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin. At 90, he's the oldest person to go to space. And I was so touched yesterday, I know we all were. He got very emotional when he talked about the experience after landing back on Earth. Take a listen.
What you have given me is the most profound experience I can imagine. I'm so filled with emotion about what just happened. It's extraordinary, extraordinary. I hope I never recover from this. I hope that I can.
William Shatner joins us now. Good morning to you and congratulations and bravo to you, William Shatner. I have to tell you, it was magical, honestly. It was magical watching you. We were all sitting here at the table watching you in real time, and your description of what you experienced and how you were feeling, it choked a lot of people up. And I'm wondering, I know you said yesterday you're still processing all of it, but what made you so emotional specifically?
It's almost inchoate to describe, to specifically tell you exactly what it was. It was so generalized. And the reason I felt that was because before going, I had thought, you know what, how will I describe what I see? And I had prepared plans, like a word that maybe somebody else hadn't used. I've got an album out there called Bill right now with a song in it, So Far From the Moon, another occasion. So I was thinking, how could I describe it? And what happened was, I'm looking out the window, and there it turns out that nobody told me about it. I mean, the limitations. There's about a 50-mile skin that the Earth has of air. And the air reflects the light and it turns blue. So we see a blue sky. We grow up and live and die, blue sky. Right. The spaceship, and I like to call it that, punched through that at 2,500 miles an hour, 50 miles, 2,500 miles an hour. So within a count of 2 or 3, it goes from blue, bang, and suddenly it's black. And you see this black, and that's space and eternity and the mystery of the cosmos. But it's black and it's death and just down there is the blue. You're on top of the blue looking down on the Earth. And you get these cliches, it's so fragile, it's all of that. But this little blue covering, and what is there is lurking, and what is there is nourishing. It was dramatized again, the very cliches we hear again and again. Yeah. We're so fragile. We hang by a string. We hang by the pollution we're doing. We're in the beginning of a terrible thing is going to happen to the world unless we do something immediately
about it. But William, you know what? You know, yesterday you had told us, or before you went, you said you were nervous and you were afraid. And I was wondering what you were thinking when you were going up, because they had a couple of delays. What were you thinking at that moment? Were you ever, once you were on board, were you still afraid and a little nervous?
My God. Oh, are you kidding? You're lying back there, and you know that there's all this explosive material, and we know it's safe. They've made this, Blue Origin has made it safe. I want to emphasize that. So it's safe. But it's one thing to say it's safe, and it's another thinking, oh, I remember O-rings and I remember explosions.
Yes.
You know, so you can be told it's safe, but the dread is there. And as an actor, I've had to deny emotions, be in front of the camera, and something terrible has happened in my personal life. I can't show that. Right. So I developed a system of denial. And I had been denying how nervous I was until I'm lying down on the seat and things are fulminating beneath me. And I'm thinking, hey, wait a minute, I'm frightened. And then when all those things that it described would happen, but they don't tell you, they don't know. Because who's been in G forces of 5 and 6G forces? Who's been in weightlessness? How do you describe weightlessness? Yeah. Being in it is totally different from any description you can have. You're floating, but you're floating. Your gut is floating. Your head is floating. Outside is you're immersed in things that are indescribable, and because people, the 600 people who've been there say, "Oh yeah, it's dark," and I'm telling you it's dark. I'm telling you it's dark.
Hey, Bill.
And that's light.
We believe you. We believe you.
I was so moved, and what I wanted when I said I want to hold on to it, it's like a truth that suddenly comes to you. And you don't want to dissipate it. You don't want to lose it. You want to hold it for the rest of your life, tuck it somewhere. But there is something coming our way, folks, that we've got to avoid. And the only way to avoid it is to look at it. We need to clean our planet up now, or our grandchildren are going to be in terrible shape.
Well, Bill, William, if everybody or a good portion of us were able to have the experience that you are describing this morning, if it were more widespread, how do you think the world might be a different place?
Well, because it's so easy. What's coming our way, we all know this. What's coming our way is horrific. So it's easier to bury your head in the sand. Well, I'm not going to think about it. You have to think about it. And it's terrible to think about. It's terrible that they're building 20-foot walls in Miami in front of people's homes who spent millions of dollars for the view of the ocean. And they're erecting a 20-foot wall because the seas are rising. Half of Florida is going to be underwater. Do you realize half of Florida is going to be underwater in our children's lifetime?
Wow.
I mean,
William,
it's crazy.
I have to ask you this because I feel like you have a more profound answer to this question after what you have experienced.
I wish so. I would like to.
What is the meaning of life and death? Because I feel like you've seen both yesterday.
Life is to be a participant in this incredibly beautiful planet of ours. I was in Texas with the mountains and the clouds and the animals that live there, and it's beautiful, beautiful. That's life. Space with all its mystery and things to find and the giant forces at work and the expanding universe when it should be contracting and everything is so mysterious but it's unknown. It's known here. This is beautiful. That's far and full of fire and fury, and we don't know what it is. We know what it is right here.
You came back safely. We're so glad to see you.
Worldly concerns are pressing upon us now, though. We have to say goodbye, William. Thank you very much. I can think of a few politicians who may enjoy the view you're describing, might change their outlook on things.
Richard Branson is planning to fly into space tomorrow in one of his Virgin Galactic vehicles, just ahead of Jeff Bezos, who says he'll go 9 days after that. There are plenty of names you know when it comes to our space program. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, John Glenn. But there are others you probably don't, including Paul Dye, the longest-serving flight director in NASA's history. Dye recently wrote a book on his 30-year career. It's called Shuttle Houston, My Life in the Center Seat of Mission Control. He's now retired, so free to speak his mind about the past and future. We met Dye at his home in Nevada for a fascinating conversation and a fun flight. Paul Dye's backyard is unusual. There's no grass or pool, but there is a runway.
We just go. We kind of treat our airplanes like bicycles. You know, if you want to go to the end of the street, you go to the end of the street.
This is your garage.
Yeah, this is my other garage.
In the hangar off Dye's home, there are 5 experimental planes, all built by Dye himself.
5.5. You know, one isn't finished.
I'd rather fly in a full airplane.
It's a bitter to have the full airplane. Yeah. Sooner or later, it'll be flying. Yeah.
On a windy morning outside Reno, we went up in Dye's RV-8. Our flight path took us within sight of Naval Air Station Fallon, home of the real Top Gun.
We try and stay out of Top Gun's airspace. Probably a good idea. Yeah.
Though I briefly took control.
It took us up a little bit too much there. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's a very sensitive airplane. Yeah, it's definitely sensitive. Very sensitive airplane.
Other requests were turned down.
Can I land the plane? Not today. Had to ask. Yeah.
For a number of years, Dye was editor-in-chief of Kit Planes magazine, where he still contributes. But the most impressive part of his resume is with NASA, where he worked for more than 30 years, including 20 years as a flight director, longer than anyone else in history.
I consider myself kind of a field general. I really like being in the battle. I like being in the thick of things. And I kind of recognized early on that unless I became a politician and ran for office, I wasn't going to be setting policy. I was going to be carrying policy out. And I was just going to get frustrated if I moved up higher in the organization trying to set policy and not being able to. So I recognized that what I really enjoyed doing was being in real-time operations, and I tell people, do what you enjoy.
What did you do? Nothing. I stirred the tanks.
Audiences have enjoyed seeing roles like Dai's portrayed on the screen for years.
Houston, we have a problem.
In 1995, Ed Harris played longtime flight director and NASA legend Gene Kranz in Apollo 13.
We never lost an American in space. We're sure as hell not going to lose one on my watch.
Get him away from that booster. It's still armed.
Recently, the position of flight director has been central to the plot of the Apple TV series For All Mankind.
Figure out their status and where they're headed.
On it, flight.
Copy, flight.
Dai's book, Shuttle Houston, details the exhaustive training necessary to rise to the position and the monumental work of thousands of people that went into running the shuttle program.
Liftoff of America's first space shuttle, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
The first U.S. shuttle flight was 40 years ago this year. The last was 10 years ago.
And liftoff, the final liftoff of Atlantis.
I personally think that we could have continued flying shuttle for a long time. And I think we should have continued flying shuttle for a long time because we had things we could do with it.
This may not be the widespread understanding, but Space Shuttle was conceived as a way to build and service a space station. Taking care of that station has been complicated by the shuttle's retirement.
The station is being serviced pretty well these days by a variety of expendable and slightly reusable spacecraft, but they're smaller. And I wish we had that capability to bring large things up and bring large things back. We don't.
This is videotape of the liftoff this morning of the Space Shuttle Challenger.
While Dai was with NASA, two national tragedies took place.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Challenger exploding after taking off in 1986.
Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
Columbia breaking apart upon re-entry in 2003.
The Columbia's lost. There are no survivors.
Because flight directors work on a rotation, Dai was not involved in coordinating either of those missions. But the pain remains. He is well aware mortal risks will always be inherent in space travel, as Americans debate where they should put their focus next, the moon or Mars.
My opinion, with experience, is I would like to see us really focus on the moon so that we can build the capability to permanently live on a planet. I would rather have a major problem occur 2.5 days from home than 8 months from home. So I guess I'm a little bit conservative, a little step by step in that regard, rather than just going straight to Mars, which we really could do. But I'd like to see us have a permanent presence.
Okay, flaps are coming. Pre-landing checklist is complete.
Dai firmly believes heavy investments in space should continue, both public and private.
I think all you have to do is look at what NASA has contributed in the past. And I think you recognize then how important it is for the future. First is flat out inspiration. Holy smokes, look what we can do as a people. I mean, we've gone to the moon. We've had people in orbit continuously. We are a spacefaring species for over 20 years. But then you also look at the technology that has come out that we take completely for granted today. The microelectronics industry basically grew out of the Apollo program when they needed a very small compact computer to go to the moon. There's two big technology drivers in history, wars and exploration. And I'd a lot rather spend that money and get the technology from exploration than wars.
Sounds like the right idea to me. I asked him if he'd be down for one of the space tourism flights that Branson's going to take first, and then Bezos. He said yes if someone else is paying.
These are new pictures from Kazakhstan, where Soyuz spacecraft just touched down. American astronaut Nick Hague and 2 other crew members from the International Space Station returned to Earth safely. Hague spent more than 200 days in space. He survived a dramatic launch abort last October. We remember this, before getting a second chance to fly into space. And just before he left the space station, Hague told Mark Strassman what he's learned over the last year. Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning. Nick Hague's space dream was a struggle, but worth it. Over the last 6 months, he has orbited the Earth more than 3,200 times. We talked to him on his last day aboard the space station just hours before he suited up to come home.
Nick Hague now outside the International Space Station.
This is Nick Hague, walking about 250 miles above the rest of us. His Earth view and his life view both changed.
To be able to look down and see the Earth for what it is and realize that we're on this very special place, this precious island in this abyss of darkness, the change in perspective up here is profound, and you can definitely feel it.
For 6 months, Hague's home has been the International Space Station. But his emotional space ride began before he got here.
Lift off.
Last October, his ride to space, a Russian Soyuz rocket, had to abort mid-flight. A booster malfunctioned, disintegrating beneath him. The Soyuz abort system flung the capsule carrying Hague and a Russian cosmonaut to safety. Back on the ground, this hug from his wife Katie was longer than usual.
You realize in that moment, hey, this could have been really bad.
When we talked to the couple last December, NASA was giving Hague what he wanted, another shot at space with another Soyuz launch.
You're not nervous?
I'm nervous. Oh, yes. It's scary. To be the spouse and to watch it from the outside is very scary.
But this Soyuz flight reached the space station without a hitch.
Contact is confirmed.
Nick Hague of NASA, the next one through the hatch.
It's a mix of emotions, the relief of finally accomplishing it, the knowing the sacrifice that had been put in up to that point, not just by me, but by my family.
While in space, the 44-year-old Hague has done 3 spacewalks, performed a series of science experiments, and lived a microgravity lifestyle. But it's time to head back to Houston.
And what are you going to miss most about space?
I'll miss things just floating and myself being able to just float around for 6 months.
Have you got pretty good at space gymnastics?
We'll give it a shot here.
Looks pretty good to me.
I got to tell you, Mark, that never gets old.
Since 1961, only 358 Americans have ever been in space. They all defied long odds to get there, but none quite like Nick Hague.
What does your space experience say about the power of second chances?
Life is full of adversity, and what defines you is how you encounter that adversity and whether you bounce back from it or not. And so I think second chances are really moments in life where you can reflect on what's important and why you're committed to what you're committed to.
Hague also can't wait to see his family again. Let's face it, 6 months is a long time apart. So I emailed his wife, Katie, to ask whether there was some big Hague family homecoming in the works. She told me that their big plans are to eat pizza and drink wine.
Oh, really like Nick Hague and Katie Hague, too, in particular. I was surprised that, not really surprised that he wanted to go back again, but I would imagine the family would be nervous. What was that big red blob that he ate? Well, I was looking at that like, what is that?
It looks like Jell-O, maybe? I don't know, but I had the same thought I did. Like, I'm not sure. That's not part of my space experience. Yeah,
Clearly a dedicated guy.
I love that he's going to miss floating.
Yeah, doesn't it look fun?
It does.
Right? It does look fun. I also like the no shoes policy apparently on the International Space Station. Everyone's got their socks on because of all the equipment. We can try that here. All right, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
Astronaut Scott Kelly holds the U.S. record for time spent in space. In March 2015, he blasted off for the International Space Station, where he logged a record 340 continuous days in orbit. While executing his regular duties, he also took time to capture some incredible images of planet Earth, as well as life aboard his orbiting home. They're collected in the new photo book, Infinite Wonder, An Astronaut's Photographs from a Year in Space. I had the chance to talk to Scott Kelly here in New York.
The engine's igniting.
Just before his launch into space in 2015, astronaut Scott Kelly got a shout-out during President Obama's State of the Union address.
Scott Kelly will begin a year-long stay in space. So good luck, Captain. Make sure to Instagram it.
And liftoff. A year in space starts now. Kelly, Kornienko, and Padalka on their way towards the International Space Station.
Kelly would take the president's Instagram challenge to heart. On his 4th mission into space, from 250 miles up, he would point his camera at the planet.
You know, with that long lens, it kind of helps you feel a little bit connected to the Earth when you could see almost see what's going on down there in some ways.
Kelly has collected those space photographs in his new book, Infinite Wonder.
The reason I put that picture in there, I think it really gives a sense of perspective when you're on the space station for how, when you're looking straight down, how close the Earth might appear. And then you see continents and countries without any political borders. It gives you the impression that, you know, we're all in this thing called humanity together.
It offered a unique vantage point on the vastness of it all, from Manhattan to the Milky Way.
Makes you feel kind of insignificant, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Actually, the whole experience makes you feel insignificant.
On this mission, Kelly would spend 340 days in space.
I believe in the importance of flying in space and, the research we do.
Some of his photography was for scientific purposes, but most was for his own pleasure.
But sometimes it was as simple as, hey, that spot looks a little interesting down there, you know, some dry lake bed in Iran as an example. Let me take a picture of it and see what it looks like.
Through his lens, he found a lake in Bolivia, wetlands in Brazil, mountain meeting desert in Algeria, these valleys full of iron ore and manganese in Libya, a lake in Western Australia.
Some of the landscapes almost look like abstract paintings.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted them to look like.
Kelly became a master of microgravity photography.
So how difficult actually was it to take those pictures?
So you're looking at a small spot on the Earth, and the Earth is going by at 5 miles a second. You know, it takes a very steady tracking motion to be able to take a picture that's not blurry. A lot of people, when they first get to space, you're very clumsy. It's interesting when you see a bunch of new astronauts show up, they're like bouncing off the walls, stuff flying all over the place. It's like
The book also offers a look at life in space.
You look very comfortable here.
Yeah, I'm floating. That's me outside the space station on a spacewalk. Oh, look at this guy.
Yep.
This is my brother. This is my brother losing on Celebrity Jeopardy to Aaron Rodgers.
And you're watching up in space.
I'm watching, yeah.
Kelly, who now has well over 1 million Instagram followers, shared many of his photos online.
It was great because you could see the reaction you would get from people. You could see the comments. I would read the comments sometimes.
One follower commented on the plants he was growing on the space station.
Some guy said, "You are no Mark Watney."
Referring to?
The guy in The Martian, the botanist that, you know, saved himself by growing potatoes. And after that, you know, fights on. I was going to do whatever it took to make those flowers look better.
He succeeded and posted this picture to prove it.
Is this you coming back?
Yeah, this is coming back. Looks pretty peaceful floating down to Earth until you crash into it.
He returned with a new perspective on his home planet.
Scott Kelly back on Mother Earth after 340 days in space.
As a fellow astronaut told him, the Earth never disappoints.
Earth is a beautiful place, whether, you know, you're looking at it, you know, all in one view or with a really up-close lens.
Speaking of lenses, he landed with his glasses on.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Really cool.
You know, it's funny. He didn't take himself seriously as a photographer until he had to train to do it, because you do it to record things in space. And then he just took off, and he's a terrific photographer.
The pictures are so inspiring, and it also inspires young people to see what life is like for him in space as an astronaut.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Talented.
Beautiful stuff.
He's got one heck of a job.
Yeah.
Just like us.
This morning in our series Note to Self, we hear from record-setting NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson. She returned from the International Space Station back in September after a 288-day mission. Whitson has spent more time in space than any other American. Wow. While in orbit, the 57-year-old biochemist started writing a letter to her 9-year-old self. She finished it with us back home in Houston at NASA Johnson Space Center for her Note to Self.
Dear younger me, I've learned a few things over the years that I would like to share with the younger version of myself. There it is, a U.S. flag on the surface of the moon.
You just watched on TV as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin took the first steps on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Although at the time it was an unbelievable moment in history, seeing it with your own eyes made it real and believable and achievable. It made you feel small, but filled you with excitement. That moment in time planted a seed of inspiration in you. Now it's up to you to nourish that seed and grow it into more than just a dream. Next year, your dad will get his private pilot's license. You will get your very first ride in an airplane. The exhilarating view of the cornfields from above will inspire you to fly as well. However, it will take several years of raising and selling chickens to earn enough money to take your own flying lessons. But just remember, learning to fly with that chicken money will be the first step toward a higher purpose. Because one day, you will become a real space explorer.
Next is Sally Ride.
The year you graduate high school, NASA will select the first female astronauts. You will dream of exploration. Know that what you dream for might seem impossible, but you will be successful as long as you make your life decisions based on your own value system and not others. So ignore the naysayers, ignore the people who say you can't become an astronaut. Instead, use it as motivation. It will be 10 years of applying before ever becoming an astronaut. The rejections will be discouraging. But in your typical style, you will just keep trying. All those years of anticipation will be surpassed when the solid rocket boosters ignite and you will literally roar into space.
And liftoff of the Space Shuttle Endeavour.
Seeing the Earth for the first time in orbit, you will be surprised that you never noticed the quality and texture of colors. High above Earth, you will remember what your parents taught you growing up on the farm. Problems don't always have elegant or expensive solutions. Dad will teach you that number 2 wire and pliers, plus a healthy attitude, can fix almost anything.
U.S. astronaut Peggy Whitson returned to Earth today.
Believe it or not, you will spend more time in space than any other American astronaut.
And has now spent more than 665 days off the planet, more than any other American astronaut.
And earned the nickname Space Ninja.
There's our resident Space Ninja.
You will grow soybeans on orbit while your father will grow soybeans on Earth. You will have the opportunity to help build the engineering marvel that is the International Space Station.
She now becomes the first 2-time female commander of the International Space Station.
You will walk in space 10 times.
I'm heading back to the poet.
Copy, Peggy. You're clear.
You will find that living in space can actually become a home, in spite of tools floating away. Alien to all you know, you will adapt and you will love it. Know that even though it is incomprehensible to you, you will be a role model. I'm still struggling with this one, so you need to step up a bit earlier than I have done. I would tell you not to underestimate your abilities, but since I know you, I'll just say, challenge yourself. You will learn that you are so much more capable than you might imagine or even dream. Sincerely, the older you.
And NASA astronaut Karen Nyberg is back on Earth this morning after nearly half a year aboard the International Space Station. She is the 50th woman to go to space. The latest voyage meant leaving her young son behind. In her first interview since returning, Nyberg tells Michelle Miller about their reunion and life in orbit.
Welcome to the International Space Station.
Astronaut by day, wife and mother 24/7. That's how Karen Nyberg describes herself.
I honestly feel like I've
I've accomplished the dream that I set out for.
She just returned to Earth after living and working on the International Space Station since May.
When you saw your son, when you saw Jack for the first time?
He started running with this big smile on his face, and it was very special. And then I just gave him a big hug, and he kind of stared at me for a while. You know, it's real mommy this time. It's not a video of mommy. And that is how I wash my hair in space. That's the only way you'd see me for 5.5 months.
5.5 months living like few others have in the name of science and exploration. While her husband, a fellow astronaut, can probably relate, it's still a long time to be so far from home. But Nyberg says it's really not lonely out in space.
It's like being with your brothers. You get very comfortable with them. You know, it's like part of your family. It has to be like a family.
Living life 250 miles above the Earth is no small feat.
You just blasted off into outer space. What scares you?
I wouldn't call that
wasn't scary.
No, an interview would be more scary to me than sitting in a rocket.
But in space, the stakes are much higher.
Probably the thing that got my heart rate up the most during the whole mission was when I was operating the robotic arm to capture the HTV, the cargo vehicle, and that came in during the middle of the mission.
You can see the HTV that Karen Nyberg will latch onto a short time from now.
I'm at the controls, and if I don't capture this thing, all of the stuff that we're expecting to get on space station, that will be lost.
Capture confirmed.
And that can get your heart rate going.
After all Nyberg has accomplished, her modesty stands out.
Do you feel like a superhero?
No, not in the least. I'm just an average person, I think. You know, I had an average American upbringing. Somebody else in my situation might not think that they can do it, and then hopefully I can inspire them that yes, they can.
For CBS This Morning, Michelle Miller, Houston.